spoke with Elon Musk and you said he was sleep deprived, pretty loopy. Talk to us about this boring company that's digging holes that he's on about.
So I saw him the same day that he had met with Donald Trump as part of that strategy and policy forum that became so controversial. And my read was that he seemed sort of relieved to have made it through the week. There had been a lot of criticism of him and some of the other CEOs. So his plan is simple. He is going to start digging holes in the ground and turn those holes into a vast network of underground tunnels that will change transportation forever. At least that's the plan. And of course, Elon Musk, he's one of these people who's incredibly good, probably the best at taking these kind of way out there ideas and getting them to a place where regular people, are able to kind of buy into them.
David, do you buy into it?
Well, I just have to say, Elon Musk gets the gold medal for audacity in business. You got to love it that he's so willing to, take a flyer on these really big ideas. Although, honestly, exactly why he wants to dig all these tunnels, I'm not entirely sure. Max's story was terrific, as you said, but it didn't fully answer the question of why.
So I can pick that up as best I can anyway. I mean, so as people maybe know, he's been talking about this plan to create this high-speed rail system called a Hyperloop. He sort of open sourced these plans and has kind of been encouraging other people to create Hyperloop pods. My read on this is that the tunnel thing is partly an outgrowth of that. The Hyperloop, if it were to happen, if a super high-speed rail system were to happen, it would require lots and lots of tunnels, because once a train is going, 500 miles an hour, 700 miles per hour, it can't make a lot of turns. So you need some tunneling, and therefore, somebody's got to do those tunnels. So why not Elon Musk? I think another reason for why is there's an opportunity with respect to just general sort of lack of innovation in construction and in tunneling. Elon Musk, one of his strengths is taking kind of existing technologies and figuring out how to do them cheaper and more efficiently with some great branding. I mean, you look at, obviously there's a lot of innovation at Tesla and SpaceX, but the core of those businesses was not creating lots of new technology. It was sort of integrating that technology and marketing it in a really smart way.
But Max, if I could ask you, of course, there's possibly a lot of reason why we might want more tunnels. I love that. I mean, if we do have an infrastructure boom because of President Trump, maybe. The Hyperloop's fascinating idea, which interestingly, Musk up till now hasn't really personally committed to. It's been developed by others. But what is it that he's going to be able to do differently with tunneling? I mean, he's buying an old traditional tunneling machine based on your story. Where's the innovation going to come, do you think?
I talked to some tunneling experts for this, and kind of the upshot is I expected that they would laugh at it, and they're not laughing at it. They're taking it seriously. Now that might be because Elon Musk is a billionaire. Maybe they just sort of it's to their advantage to take it seriously. But what they said is basically that there has been very little innovation here. So for instance, in Seattle there was this machine called Big Bertha that got stuck underground for months. I think a year and a half or 2 years, and it broke down, and they basically weren't able to repair it. They had to dig it, literally, I think, dig it out of the ground and lift it up with cranes, and it was this huge delay. Now that happens all the time. So a tunneling expert I talked to said, look, you could go a lot faster if you just had enough spare parts on hand, if you just did a few things in smart ways. And I think you could make a similar critique about aerospace when Elon Musk got into it. Now, of course, the other thing I think that we obviously can't ignore is that we are at a moment in the sort of political climate where infrastructure investment has suddenly gotten more palatable, and I think he's also seizing that opportunity, obviously.
artificial intelligence. It's something that you and I have as a shared interest, and it's something that our audience is interested in as well. The question here is, a lot of experts in AI don't share the same level of concern that you do about the dangers of AI.
Fools.
What
Famous last words.
What specifically do you believe that they don't?
Well, the biggest issue I see with so-called AI experts is that they think they know more than they do. And they think they're smarter than they actually are. In general, we are all much smarter than we think we are, but much less smart, dumber than we think we are, by a lot. So this tends to plague smart people. They just can't. They define themselves by their intelligence, and they don't like the idea that a machine could be way smarter than them. So they discount the idea, which is fundamentally flawed. That's the wishful thinking situation. I'm really quite close to, I'm very close to the cutting edge in AI, and it scares the hell out of me. It's capable of vastly more than almost anyone knows, and the rate of improvement is exponential. You can see this in things like AlphaGo, which went from, in the span of maybe 6 to 9 months, it went from being unable to beat even a reasonably good Go player to then beating the European world champion, who was ranked 600, then beating Lisa Doll 4-5, who had been world champion for many years, then beating the current world champion, then beating everyone while playing simultaneously. Then there was AlphaZero, which crushed AlphaGo 100-0. And AlphaZero just learned by playing itself, and it can play basically any game that you put the rules in for. Whatever rules you give it, it literally read the rules, play the game, and be superhuman for any game. Nobody expected that rate of improvement. If you ask those same experts who think AI is not progressing at the rate that I'm saying, I think you will find that their predictions for things like Go and other AI advancements have their batting average is quite weak. It's not good. We'll see this also with self-driving. I think probably by end of next year, self-driving will encompass essentially all modes of driving and be at least 100 to 200% safer than a person by the end of next year. We're talking like maybe 18 months from now. NHTSA did a study on Tesla's Autopilot version 1, which is relatively primitive, and found that it was a 45% reduction in highway accidents. And that's despite Autopilot 1 being just version 1. Version 2, I think, will be at least 2 or 3 times better. That's the current version that's running right now. So the rate of improvement is really dramatic. We have to figure out some way to ensure that the advent of digital superintelligence is one which is symbiotic with humanity. I think that's the single biggest existential crisis that we face, and the most pressing one.
And how do we do that? I mean, if we take it that it's inevitable at this point, that some version of AI is coming down the line, how do we steer through that?
Well, I'm not normally an advocate of regulation and oversight. I mean, I think one should generally err on the side of minimizing those things. But this is a case where you have a very serious danger to the public. And so therefore, there needs to be a public body that has insight and then oversight to confirm that everyone is developing AI safely. This is extremely important. I think the danger of AI is much greater than the danger of nuclear warheads by a lot.